bir konu yapmayacağız. We will not have a new topic today. We will just finish the questions left in our problem session. And that's all. We will finish early today, I hope, I think. Okay. We have two questions and about perfect competition again. The first one, the market demand for a type of carpet known as KS12 has been estimated as P equal to 75 minus 1.5 Q, and where P is price and the Q is output per time period. And the market supply is expressed with the function P equal to 25 plus 0.5 Q. A typical competitive firm that makes this type of carpet has a marginal cost of production, which is given. And the question A says, determine the market equilibrium price for this type of carpet. Also determine the production rate in the market. P and Q is asked in the first question. So for question A, we will equalize, as you can guess, we will equalize demand to supply the demand function 75 minus 1.52 equal to 25 plus 0.52. So from here, 2Q equal to 50 and equilibrium quantity is 25. And what else? What is the price? Of course, we will put this 25 to find the price. P equal to, for example, 25 plus 0.5 times 25. So equilibrium price 37.5, I think. And let's draw this situation. Here Q and here P. If demand function Q is 0, P is 75, and if P is 0, Q is 75 over 1.5, whatever. That is the demand function. If Q here, that is supply function. And at equilibrium, at point E, let's say, the price is 37.5 and the Q is 25. Okay. That is the easy part of the question. In question B, determine how much the typical firm will produce per week at the equilibrium price. We know that it is given in the question. A typical firm's marginal cost is this one. Here we are mostly in these type of questions, aksi söylenmediği sürece, we assume that all firms have the same total cost function. It's not a necessity for the perfectly competitive market, but we mostly assume that, again, for simplification, all firms uses a typical cost function, the same cost function it means. So if the price equal to 37.5 equilibrium price, and if the profit maximization condition for perfectly competitive market is price equal to marginal cost, so in that case, we will equalize that price 37.5 to the typical firm's marginal cost function. So it is 22.5 plus 10Q. In that case, we will get 35 equal to 10Q, and the profit maximizing level of output is 3.5 for each firm. So determine how much. Okay, we found it. Let's draw the situation. for a typical firm. The equilibrium price was determined in the market by all of the suppliers and all of the demanders together, and it is 37.5, and the typical firm has to accept that price. So price is a given factor for the firm, 37.5, that is price, marginal revenue, average revenue, and demand faced by the firm. And the marginal cost function is not a U-shaped function here. Please try to see. 2.5 plus 10Q is a positive slope linear function. So in that case, if Q is 0, marginal cost is 2.5. So it will start from somewhere here. And positive slope, that is marginal cost, and price and marginal cost are equalized at point E, and a typical firm will produce 3.5 units of this food. And what about question C? If all firms have the same cost structure, how many firms would compete at the equilibrium price computed in A above? Now here we found that in the market, this good will be sold 25 units, bought and sold 25 units. And each firm will sell 3.5 units for profit maximization. If all have the same cost structure, same marginal cost function, each firm, we can assume that each firm will sell 3.5 units of that good to maximize their profits. So in that case, the number of firms can be found as Q over Q, the market output over the firm's output. If we are talking about a typical or identical cost function, so it is 25, no, 25, sorry. 25 over 3.5 is the number of firms. Let's divide them. So, 7.14. Approximately 7 firms. There are approximately 7 firms in the market, we can say. Okay. And finally, determine the producer surplus the typical firm has under the conditions described above. Hint, note that the marginal cost function is linear. In our last session, we said that if marginal cost is linear like that, the average variable cost will also be linear. Let's try to find the average variable cost function. If the marginal cost is 2.5 plus 10Q, in that case, we can think that the total variable cost is, ne olacak? Hadi siz söyleyin bana. Marginal cost is the first derivative of the total variable cost. So if you take the integral of the marginal cost, you will get the total variable cost. So how can you write the total variable cost function? The derivative is 2.5 plus 10Q. Then it must be, yes, Bilge'den cevap geldi. 2.5Q plus 5Q square. Good. That is the total variable cost function. And in that case, we can find average variable cost, which is total variable cost over Q. It is again 2.5 plus 5 2, right? This is average variable cost function. Let's add it here. So the average variable cost function again will start from 2.5, and the slope of the function here, the slope of the marginal cost is 10, but the slope of the average variable cost function is 5, not 2.5, is 5. So it is flatter than the marginal cost, which means that it will lie below the marginal cost here. That is the average variable cost, which means that marginal cost is here. Marginal cost is always above the average variable cost, except that that point Q is 0 point. So for any positive price, for any price higher than 2.5, this firm is willing to sell that good. The minimum acceptable price for this firm is greater than 2.5. So entire marginal cost, in that case, all of this marginal cost is the firm supply, we can say, this one. Yani şunu kastetmeye çalışıyorum. Belki hani şuraya harf ekleyelim. Aslında geçen hafta da bunu söylemiştik ama bir kere daha vurgulamış olalım. For U-shaped cases, short run functions, average variable cost and the marginal cost, the minimum acceptable price, tabii şurasını açtım. Söyleyeceğim şimdi Melisa. For U-shaped case, the minimum acceptable price for the firm at the shutdown point where marginal cost and the average variable cost equal to each other, which is the minimum point of the average variable cost. So if the price is greater than this minimum price, the firm will supply. That's why the marginal cost function above the average variable cost is the firm supply function. It is the firm supply function, that part only. But if we are talking about the linear case, marginal cost is positively sloped here in our example, and the average variable cost is also positively sloped and lie below the marginal cost. So the marginal cost is always above the, here in our example, 2.5, is above the average variable cost, not only a minimum acceptable price. For any price higher than 2.5, the firm is willing to supply that good. So entire marginal cost in that case, entire marginal cost is the firm supply function. So yes, minimum acceptable price in that case is 2.5 or higher than 2.5, let's say. The firm wants to supply that good. You are right, Melissa, in that case. So the question is, what is the producer surplus for the typical firm? Let's draw it here again. We are talking about question B. The price is determined in the market as 37.5 and here P, and the marginal cost function is something like that. It starts from 2.5, and the equilibrium quantity for each firm is, what was it? 3.5%. Yes. It is 3.5, right? So the in that case, the producer surplus for each firm is the area between marginal cost or supply and the equilibrium price, that is price marginal revenue, average revenue, and demand. So that area is the producer surplus area. So how can we find that? 3.5 times 37.5 minus 2.5 over 2. So it is 62, 24, 56, 7, so the producer surplus for this firm is 61.25. We can also find the here the producer surplus for the market, right? Because we know the supply function, and in that case, here the producer is the price 37.5, and this is the supply function. It starts from 25, I think, right? If Q is 0, P is 25. So that area is the producer surplus in the market. This one is the producer surplus of one firm. So let's find it. Producer surplus in the market here is 37.5 minus 25 times 25 over 2. So which is which is 156.25. Okay. Fazla olması gerekiyordu. Bir yerde bir işlem hatası yapmış olabilir miyiz arkadaşlar? Böyle bir şey görüyor musunuz? Bir buçuktan 20 çıkmazsa 12 buçuk gelir. 12 buçuk çarpı 20 buçuk. Evet, doğru. Okay. Any problem about it? You don't think so? Good. Okay. Then go on. Let's turn to the last question. A number of stores offer film developing as a service to their customers. Suppose that each store that offers this service has a cost function of this one, cost function of 50 plus 0.52 plus 0.082 square. If the going rate for developing a roll of a film is $8.50, so the price is defined as 8.50, is the industry in long-run equilibrium? If not, find the price associated with the long-run equilibrium. Here we have that kind of cost function. To find if it is a long-run equilibrium, we need to check if the firm is earning normal profit, or we can also check if this is the minimum point of the average cost function actually. But at the beginning of the question, we can say that this cannot be a long-run equilibrium. Why? By calculating nothing, we can say that this cannot be a long-run equilibrium. here, please try to see that this is the short run total cost function, right? So because here a total fixed cost. So if there is a fixed cost, then we are talking, it means that we are talking about, yes, short run. But there is a possibility, please remember, the long run, in the long run equilibrium, both long run average costs and the short run equilibrium and short run average cost is minimized at the same time. So we will check if this is this point. This is long run average cost, and also one of the short run average cost is minimized here. We have that function, short run cost function. So we will check if we are in this point, point B. The name of this point, please remember, is the minimum efficient scale. Okay, so let's start to find the short run average cost function, short run average cost function, which is 50 over Q plus 0.5 plus 0.08, not 8, 0.16 Q squared. 0. No, pardon, sorry. We are just dividing to Q, not dividing, not deriving. So 50 over Q, 0.5, 0.08 Q is the average cost function. And what is the marginal cost function? Short run marginal cost function. If you derive it, 0.5 plus 0.162. And as you know that at the minimum point, these two are equal to each other. So let's equalize them and try to find the minimum point of the average cost. Or alternatively, you can derive the short run average cost function and you can equalize it to 0. So let's equalize these two. So we know that here also a short run marginal cost function which intersects average cost at the minimum point. So we will equalize them to each other. 50 over 2 plus 0.5 plus 0.082 equals to 0.5 plus 0.162 90J. So 0.082 equal to 50 over 2. So here Q squared is 50 over 0.008. I think Q is 20 in that case, right? 50 over 0.008. Değil, 625. So Q is 25 here. Yes. Q is 25. Now, what we found, let's put it here better. Now, we found that this is the long run average cost function. This is short run average cost function. We found that at this minimum point, of course, we have the short run marginal cost here. By the way, okay, yanlış çizdik tabii. Bu genel bir çizimdi. Please try to see that. Here we have a marginal cost of linear again, not U-shaped. Dolayısıyla burada marginal cost çıkaralım oradan. This is the minimum point. U-shaped olacak. 0,5 artı 16 Q olduğunda U-shaped olmayacak. Lineer pozitif slope olacak. Çizmeyelim. Gerek yok. minimum noktasından sonuç olarak biz ne bulduk? Q will be 25. So what will be the price or long run average, short run average cost in that case? Now let's find this one. If the short run average cost is 50 over Q plus 0.5 plus 0.08 Q, if you substitute 25 for Q here, you will find 2 plus 0.5 plus so the short run average cost in that case 4.5. Here we have 4.5, right? So what is the price given in this question? If the price is 8.50, which is higher than the long run average cost, minimum point of the long run. Somewhere here, 8.5. Is it a long run equilibrium? Can we say that it is a long run equilibrium? No, no. Here price is greater than the average cost, which means that the firm is earning positive profit. So if this is a perfectly competitive market, we can say that this cannot be the long run equilibrium for the firm. Long run equilibrium will be occurred at the normal profit point, which is also minimum efficient scale of the firm. You can also answer this question by calculating the profit at $8.5 price. What will be the, let's do it. Second method to solve this question, you can also check if the profit level is positive or not. If the profit level is positive or negative, şöyle yazalım, positive or negative değil de, if the profit level is different than 0, then it is short run. If the profit level is 0, then you can think that it's a long run equilibrium. Of course, in the short run also there is a possibility to work with the normal profit, we said, but here we can assume that if the firm is having positive profit, we will find it. Then it can be assumed that it's working in the short run. So to find the profit level, firstly, we need to find the profit maximizing level of output. So we will equalize price to marginal cost to find the profit maximizing level of output. Price is given as 8.5 and the marginal cost function that we found here, 0.5 plus 0.16. So here, 0.5 plus 0.16 Q. In that case, Q equal to 8 over 0.16. 8 over 0.16 is 50. So profit maximizing level of output is 50. So what is the profit in that case? We found the average cost in the first method, so we can use the profit is Q times price minus average cost. Ama biz pardon average sorry, we found the minimum point of average cost. So no need to use it. We are not at the minimum point, so we cannot use that value. That's why. So the profit is total revenue minus total cost. So total revenue is price times quantity. Price is 8.5 times 50. That is the total revenue minus total cost. Do we have total cost function? Yes. 50 plus plus 0.52 plus 0.08 Q square, right? Q is 50. So let's find that. 50 times 8.15. Here total revenue is 425 minus ekranda sorun. Ekran kaydı. Bende normal görünüyor ama şöyle yapalım bir dakika. Tekrardan yapalım. Görünüyor mu şu anda? Tamam. 50 plus 0.5 times 50, 25 plus 50 square, 2,500 times 0.08, which is 200. So the profit of the firm is minus 275, which is 150. Greater than 0. So because the profit is greater than 0, then we can conclude that this firm will earn positive, it's working positive profit, and it's working in the short run, we can say. Any problem about it? Var mı bir sorunuz arkadaşlar soruların çözümüyle ilgili olarak? 8,5 kısmını kaçırdım. Onu soruda vermiş zaten. Nerede? Şurada. Ben malın fiyatının 8,5 olduğunu söylemiş. Tamam. Güzel. Okay. That's all for today. Now let's talk about our midterm examination. Stop share. What is our responsibilities for the midterm examination? We finished 2 chapters. So you are responsible from chapter 7 and chapter 8. Just one small topic, there's one small exception, 8.8. You will not be responsible from 8.8, right? You are not responsible from the industry's long run supply function. For chapter 7, we made all of them, so you are responsible. For chapter 8, only 8.8 is skipped, so you are not responsible. You will have a multiple choice questions, but I tried to prepare some problems within the multiple choice, maybe one problem, and again, in multiple choice format, you will solve the problem. I tried to do my best not to miss the problem section parts in the examination. Okay, if you have any question, I can answer. Or
I have a question. For the problem section, for example, is the problem gonna have like many questions like A, B, C, If
Yes,
so,
but you will not solve it. You will just choose the right answer. You will solve it on your own. I will not see the solution, but you will just in multiple choice format again.
but I think it's gonna be like mixed with the other questions because they mix the questions.
You will
So
see, no, you will see the questions at this all of the times.
okay, thank you so much.
Any other question? No? Okay then. Süreyi de tanımladım. By the way, you are expected to have 30 questions, 30 multiple choice questions, and the time interval will be 45 minutes. 30 questions in 35 minutes. I think it's okay. Yes, ortak, group A and group B will have the same questions, but the evaluation of your grades are different. Sınav ortak ama değerlendirme ayrı ayrı yapılıyor. Tamam mıyız? Tekrar. O zaman görüşmek üzere arkadaşlar. Hepinize başarılar diliyorum sınavda. Sınavdan sonraki hafta pazartesi hemen görüşmek üzere. Hoşçakalın. Görüşmek üzere.